was 12 years old. I lived on Gladstone Avenue near Erie Street, the 1044 Gladstone actually, and the girl next door that had just moved in was 19-year-old Edith Tchaikovsky. I started hanging out with her little brother, who was about my age, but I really wasn't interested in him. I had this mad crush on her. I was 12, right? And she was I just used to worship this woman from afar. And then they moved away, and a few months later, I was sitting on my front porch when this thing broke, and I was listening to it. My mother and I were listening to this radio station. CKWW used to have, CKW, I'm sorry, had a show called Windsor Speaks. It was some acerbic radio host. You could talk about local issues. And it just broke. The radio said there were mass shootings on the east side, so we just stayed up till 2 in the morning trying to get information. Finally, I was tired. I went to bed, and about 5 in the morning, my father woke me up, and he said, "That girl next door, she's the one who was killed." Well, that just broke my heart. I ran down and listened to the radio. Sure enough, 19-year-old Edith Tchaikovsky dead, or 20-year-old Edith Tchaikovsky dead. And I left it at that. And then about 10 years after these murders, and these murders weren't heard of, spree killers weren't heard of in 1966. But 10 years after the fact, we find out that Matthew Lem, the killer, the spree killer, was actually being declared a hero in Zimbabwe, which was then Rhodesia, a white minority regime of Rhodesia. He was fighting as a mercenary for the Rhodesian military forces. He was killed by friendly fire, but they painted him as a hero because they needed heroes. They were under assault by these black nationalist groups from every direction. And that made news back here, and people in Windsor were upset. How could they glorify this fella? And Canada, and I was in the RCMP at the time, and I was doing homicide investigation at the time out west. So I think those, and I always told myself, if I ever get the chance, nobody's told this story in its entirety. It was so bizarre, and the more I got into it, the more fascinating I was by all these sub-themes running through the story and how many people were involved and where it went for the 10-year period after the actual killings. And I have a master's in history, so I have an academic background, I have a police background, so those two things coupled with the loss of my childhood sweetheart is really the essence of how this story came to be.